Another distillery visit, another handfill to add to the collection. Hi there, my name is Lewis and welcome to the Neckpour. This is the Whisky Review channel where I give you my thoughts and opinions on a particular bottle of whisky from the Neckpour all the way down to the Dregs. You join me here today for another bottle I picked up on my trip to White Peak Distillery, Y-Works, for their 10th anniversary. This time it's a distillery exclusive handfill that I picked up. I went there with the best of intentions at heart. The only thing I was considering was a Codoro X, which you'll see the Neckpour of just up there, or the bourbon barrel release, which was in my top 5 whiskies to try for 2026. The minute I saw this available, all those thoughts and dreams went out the window. I thought a rum cask, it's a real marmitey thing. Some people love them, some people hate them, some whiskies work with it, some whiskies don't. That's something I've got to try. I had the tiniest little nip in the distillery shop just to make sure it wasn't something that I was going to hate. And at that point, I knew it was coming home with me. As I say, though, I've literally tried that much, nothing more, in the shop after a couple of drams and a bite to eat. So now it's back home. Let's see what I really think. But yeah, I think no more wasting time. Let's get this open. Firstly, let's have a little listen to the cork. Not too bad for the cork on that one. And let's get this poured. Straight away, the moment that's open, there's just the aroma coming out of it is crazy. Absolutely crazy. The smell's coming off that. Super, super strong. Let's just give it a little second in the glass and I'll tell you a little bit about it. So it's bourbon with a rum cask finish. As with pretty much everything they put out, we're fully natural. We're cask strength on this one at 57.2. So pretty punchy, pretty up there. Their classic sort of lightly peated spirit. And yeah, a distillery handfill, something I'm a bit of a sucker for. That kind of forced scarcity is always something that gets me going a little bit. I'm a bit of a sucker for. And not the cheapest thing in the world. This was 90 quid. But if it was as good as that little taste that I tried all those weeks ago, then I'd be pretty happy with this. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get up to the nose. There's almost a kind of slightly herbal note to this, in a sort of aniseed, fennel, anise kind of way. Really intriguing though. I get a little puff of smoke, the way that I didn't on the on that Codoro. And there's lots of almost fermenting fruit to this, you know, like mushed bananas. Those sort of estery fruits could be strawberries that have gone a little bit old, but when they're a little bit bashed and a little bit kind of mushy, right at the end of their life, could even be a pear. Really quite nice though. It sounds, I can see why some people might think they don't sound like great things. That's very intriguing on the nose. Let's have a little taste. Lots of kind of dunnagey funk. That herbal note goes through to almost a kind of natural licorice. There's like a chewy sort of fruit sweet, like Starbursts or something like that. Couldn't tell you what fruit it is that I'm getting, but it's just that kind of that kind of almost fake fruit sweet flavour that you get on like estery new make, if that makes sense to anyone. It's that sort of generic fruity thing, but it's not any fruit in particular, and it's more like a fruit sort of essence or something you would add as an ingredient to something. But super, super sweet, with then these super, super savory notes underneath it. There's the kind of funkiness, there's the licorice, but not a sweetened licorice. Again, there's a bit of fennel coming through there for me, but this is more like fennel in a salad, like a chopped like head bulb fennel. Really, really interesting palate there. And then moving through to the finish, you get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. And it almost diverges. You get kind of one path going up to a really vanilla-y, creamy, custardy, creme brulee, something like that. You get another part kind of going down into a really dark, thick, sticky, treacle, dark brown sugar, something like that. And then again, just faintly over the top, right at the end of the finish, I just get, again, tiny little wisps of smoke sort of blowing in on the breeze that really kind of brings everything back together. Very, very good. And because it's pretty punchy, I am just going to add a little drop of water to this. I mean, it's not at all overly harsh. I could happily drink that at cask strength. It's not that there's any jag to it, anything like that, but I just wonder if a little bit of water might coax out a few more flavours. The smoke's almost gone on the nose, as is a lot of those kind of herbs. That's a bit more sort of straight up and down fruit there. And a little bit more sort of tropically. Guavas, papayas, mangoes. But yeah, a lot simpler on the nose. Again, some of that funkiness has been, again, washed out on the palate as well. And it's much fruity, sweeter, much more easy drinking, that's for sure. And then on the finish, that creamier custard note takes charge with still that little bit of funkiness. And again, with that much water added, that smoke's almost washed completely out of it. So while it's probably a bit more appealing to the masses watered down, for me, I think I've added a little bit too much there, and it's sort of washed out a lot of the intrigue of that bottle. But no, that's a really, really interesting whiskey. It's one of the better rum casks I've ever tried. It's not something I've been traditionally a huge fan of all the casks that could have been on the Handfill that I would have definitely gone for. Rum would have probably been somewhere down near the bottom, to be quite honest. And it is why I did ask for a little taste before just buying on site. But I'm pretty glad I've got that one. And I think for sort of rum cask naysayers, I think this is a fantastic one to have in the arsenal, because I think that will change minds. I think it works very well with the spirit. And I think, to be honest, that little bit of smoke that's on this is what really helps bring this together. And I don't think the price is ridiculous for this. I mean, it's not a cheap whiskey at all at 90 quid. But it is one that I am really enjoying so far. Again, I think with those funky flavours, I'll be really interested to see how this one develops between now and the Dregs. Because as it gets that oxygen, is it going to get funkier and funkier and weirder and weirder and weirder? Perhaps to the point of almost overcooking those flavours and it being a bit too much of an oddity? Or is it going to just get a bit more generic whiskey as that oxygen takes hold? And I think that'll be really interesting. For me, I hope it gets weirder as opposed to calming down, as it were, because I think that'd be a shame. I think something having a bit of edge is quite cool and quite different. You know, there's a big wide world with a lot of malt out there. And I think if you're going to do something interesting, do it properly. And I think that's what this is doing so far. But yeah, I'd be really keen to see how this one does develop over the next couple of months sitting in the cupboard. Because I think that air could potentially make this something really exceptional, or wash it out a little bit and leave it a bit lacking. But yeah, I think I've got another sort of half hour sat with that, having a bit more of a think, to be quite honest. And I think that's probably about where we should leave today, to be honest. Firstly, I'd just like to say thank you all so much for joining me here today. The fact that you take time out of your day to spend a bit of it with me really does mean a lot to me. And if you've enjoyed the video, please do hit that like down below. If you've got any thoughts on this particular bottle, if there's anything else from Wireworks or White Peak that you want to see me review, or from anywhere that you'd like to see me review, drop it down in the comments down below. I'll be sure to get back to you. If you've really enjoyed the video, please do hit subscribe and that notification bell so you're informed next time I post. It really does mean the world. But other than that, again, I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining me here today. And until the next time, cheers, Salantia, I'll see you again.